And this is the time the Dutch ate their prime minister. Wait a minute, I didn't even read that word first. Ate! Okay. This was how history matters, obviously. Many people dislike their leaders. Few will ever go far as to literally eat them. So why did the Dutch do this? Why did the Dutch eat their prime minister in the 17th century? It was because his leadership was lacking and he was deeply disliked. Yeah, that's the case with literally every leader around the world that has ever been. They usually come to a point where they are disliked and people are unhappy. That happens. That happens a lot. Nobody eats them. I don't know. I bet there's going to be way too much to this story than I guess just this title. But yeah, this is still ridiculous. How the fuck did I miss this video? I mean, by now I've reacted to what, like 40, 50 videos from this channel or something. Yeah, I should have done this a long time ago. So let's watch it. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the reaction, there's a link in the description. There you'll find all the History Matters reactions I did. There's a playlist recorded for it, history, I guess. I'm pretty sure it's all there. But yeah, check out the playlist too. You know, I've reacted to quite a few videos from different genres, I guess. So check that out and let's watch it.
Historically speaking, prime ministers aren't food. But this little fact wasn't enough to stop those go-getting Dutch from chowing down on their own in 1672. Now, this raises a pretty obvious question: why?
Dutch in 17th century. I mean, like, a European country in 17th century doing something like this feels weird, right? If it was somewhere else, sure. Come on.
Why did the Dutch eat their prime minister? How does someone go from being in a position of immense power to becoming food for an angry mob? So, a bit of background. In the mid-17th century, the young Dutch Republic was in a difficult situation. It was surrounded by hostile powers who were pretty keen to carve it up or at least permanently subjugate it. You see, the Dutch Republic was rich, incredibly rich, mostly due to its near monopoly on trade with Southeast Asia, which everybody else wanted. Having so many enemies meant the war was somewhat inevitable. So the title of Prime Minister didn't exist back in 1653 and the formal head of...
So Dutch was one of the first countries ever to basically become successful by colonizing, right? And at the same time, they were kind of smaller compared to the other ones, like, you know, Prussia, basically Britain, France, and, you know, France, Britain, you know, Prussia, you know, countries like that were much more militaristically powerful than Dutch, but Dutch were richer because of their trading, right? Dutch were more businessmen, everybody else had bigger guns. So yeah, this was a really fucked up situation.
The Dutch Republic was called the Stadtholder. Previously, this office had been held by the Princes of Orange and was essentially an elected monarchy. However, as of 1650, the office was left vacant after a quarrel between William II and officials from Holland. In the decades following this, the country was deeply divided between two political groups. The first group was the statists, those who favoured a loose federation and less centralised power, and the second group were the Orangists, who wished for the return of a monarchical system under the House of Orange and a deeply centralised state. Without a stadtholder, the effective head of the country was the Grand Pensionary of Holland, the richest and most powerful of the United Provinces. And the man who held this position was Johan de Witt. De Witt was in many respects a moderate whose primary interest was protecting the flow of trade, and thus he wanted to avoid war at all costs. As such, de Witt prioritised the creation of a strong navy to deter anyone from interrupting said trade.
Sense.
Now, this policy worked well initially. When England fought a war in 1665 to pry some Dutch trade away from it, the Dutch promptly and decisively crushed the English navy. After this, de Witt was at the height of his...
Wait a minute, what the fuck? In 17th century, Dutch defeated Britain? By this time, didn't Britain already had one of the most powerful navy in the world? How that happened? So I know he said, you know, invest in, I guess if you have the really good money, and if you divert all your resources into just making the badass navy, I guess you could be powerful for a brief period of time. But overall, I'm pretty sure British were much more powerful. I don't know. But that is surprising.
Popularity and power, and so sought to use this to settle his dispute with the Orangists, who were led by the young William of Orange. As such, he implemented a law which meant that Holland no longer recognised the office of stadtholder, making it impossible for William to have control of the entire country should he rise to power. To put it mildly, this upset the Orangists, but there wasn't much they could do yet. Things went south in 1672 when King Louis XIV of France decided that the Dutch Republic's existence had gone on for a bit too long, and so he invaded. And things went poorly for the Dutch. Very poorly. So much so that 1672 is referred to as the Rampjaar, which directly translates to a year which in retrospect can safely be described as being pants. With the French army rampaging through the country, the Orangists demanded de Witt's head and made a failed attempt to...
I don't know how to see that again. This channel has certain animation there, just too much. The horse going sideways is also one of them.
With the French army rampaging through the country, the Orangists demanded De Witt's head and made a failed attempt to assassinate him. He resigned the office of Grand Pensionary, but this wasn't enough since he could potentially return, and so the Orangists arrested De Witt's brother. When De Witt went to visit him, he was ambushed and killed by a mob, and said mob subsequently ate him and his brother. Not all of them, that would be uncouth.
Wait a minute, so they arrested his brother. Didn't he know that only reason they did that to flush him out? Why would he go there to visit, right? So just stayed in the background, try to plot some way to, I guess, release his brother or something. He just went there. I'm guessing there is more to it than that, right? He tried to be clever about it, trying to, I guess, do something about, releasing his brother or something before somebody found out. There was some, battle here and there. I don't know. It must be. I hope he didn't just basically walk just right there. Because clearly his brother was the bait.
But they did cook and eat some of them. We know this from several sources who described it as actually being a fairly organised display of cannibalism, which is pretty rare. In the end, he was killed because the people of his country...
Fairly organised way of cannibalism. Like, come on, man. You could take any absurd thing and create it more, I guess... more, I don't know how to say it, proper way, right? More, organized way of eating someone. Like, how does that sentence even make sense? Like, you ate somebody, what the fuck? You just became cannibal there, regardless of your political reasons.
Were in a state of raw panic, and the Dutch mob ate him because they hated him. He had kept their rightful monarch away from power, and so they sought to humiliate him in death. And in case you're wondering, the reaction to their deaths in the Netherlands was that it was justified, and the new stadtholder, William, quickly pardoned everyone. So if you only take one thing away from this, when leaders mess things up royally by losing a war and alienating half of their...
There are two parties, one of the oranges basically. So they are the one who wanted monarchy back, and the other ones are more like a federalist, like he said, who wanted a central government. So even the federalists basically said like, oh, it was the right thing. Is that what happened? Because it's two sides, right? Both sides agreed that it was good. I guess because he kind of fucked up with the war against France. And whenever this is the historical thing, regardless of if you are right or wrong, or you follow a certain ideology, if you lose badly, everybody will hate you regardless of what. I guess, yeah. In the end, that's what history tells us. You can't be a loser regardless of what. Regardless if you're morally right or not, right? You can't be a loser. So I guess that's the reason why everybody just hated him. And then everybody's like, oh, he's justified. It's fucked up, right? You fucked up at a level where an entire country says, oh, eating him was justified. Like, what the fuck?
Country, they move on to the list of things eligible to be eaten. Something to remember if you ever want to go into politics. I hope you enjoyed this episode and thank you for watching, with a special thanks to my patrons.
There you go. I knew there was going to be much more than... I knew this was not going to be some ridiculous video where something happened and people just ate it because they could. It was more of a political display. There were two parties, right? Shit happened. There was a war involving France. So it kind of makes sense, but still, it's still weird. Like, it's a historical thing now. There was a time where Dutch ate their prime minister. Like, what the fuck? But yeah. Alright, well, if you like my reaction, like, subscribe, comment down if you want to react to any specific video from this channel or any other. And yeah, I'll see you next time.